What is going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again to give you guys another Superman and Lois review. This time we're going to be talking about episodes 1 through 3 of Season 2 because I have fallen behind a bit. And here to help me catch up, as we can see, is Nerd Mix Alpha himself, Indy Uchiha. What is going on, my friend?
Man, it just feels good to be back. I feel like I've been gone for too long. And this is the perfect show to talk about because it's not a bad show.
Oh, no, not at all. No, like Superman and Lois season 1 really surprised me, for what it was. And then season 2 so far has just been off to a really good start. And one of the funny things that I'll kind of get into, like as I go through like a lot of notes, is that every time I feel like the show is just going to kind of rely on the same kind of forced drama that we're so used to with other CW shows, it always just kind of takes like a immediate turn the other way and just kind of goes, oh, okay, cool, let's move on now. Let's not, drag this out for 12 episodes. Let's actually, move on the same way real people do in real life. And I absolutely love the show for that.
Yeah, I could definitely get you with that. It's a lot of extra drama that you would expect from a CW show, but the way that they handle it, it feels more that it's tied to real life than them trying to force something, you know what I'm saying, in there. Like, yeah, even though all this is going on, this would happen and he would have to deal with this, he or she would have to deal with this also, but it's not going to take them 2 months to wrap this up.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get started, I'm just going to kind of go over what we're going to be doing, just so the audience is aware. So, basically, because, it's 3 whole episodes, what I did is I decided to just kind of take notes on, the main things I wanted to talk about. The least important things are going to be the things that we talk about first. And then, as we go down my list of notes, it'll get, the stakes will be bigger and bigger. It'll be like more on the bigger picture of what we might be expecting for the entire season going forward. But yeah, so the first thing that I do kind of want to bring up is, again, this is probably what I think is the least important part currently going on in the show, but it is definitely something worth bringing up, and that's the Sarah and kind of Jordan situation going on, where we have Sarah going off to camp, and then when she comes back, at first she's acting a little weird around Jordan, and we're not quite sure why. Although I think I was able to guess like by the end of episode 1, only because there were kind of some hints, especially with the kind of the weird, awkward smile she had when she was returning back to town, as if she like something kind of pleasant happened at camp. And I think like one of the big things too about this is that, yeah, for me personally, like, I don't think like once we get the reveal that it was Sarah, like basically finding out that a girl that she was going to camp with liked her a little more than she realized. And so the two of them kissed. And this, of course, upsets Jordan. And this was where like, it's weird because I've noticed like there was such a weird divide about this on Twitter. I don't see anyone on Twitter like kind of justifying Sarah, actually cheating on Jordan. But at the same time, it's weird to me that this has also brought some weirdly toxic fans out of Superman and Lois, because I've been seeing some weird tweets and kind of stuff like that of people saying that this is like forced SJW like nonsense that they're putting into the show. And I gotta ask, like, what are you talking about? Because, if anything, to me, it feels like it would be anti-SJW because, you're bringing in kind of a negative stereotype of like a bisexual character by having them cheat on another character. So I don't know. To me, it's like, it's weird that people are like looking way too deep into this. To me, it's just, it's young love. And this is just kind of stuff that happens at young love. Now, again, I'm not trying to justify the fact that she, did cheat on Jordan, but at the same time, it's weird the way people are reacting about this as if they think this is like them trying to force in like SJW like messages or something like that. And that's just not it. It's just kids acting the same way like kids do in real life to me. And I think the way Jordan kind of handles the situation at the very end, it makes sense. It makes sense that he forgives her to me, but at the same time, if the showrunners wanted to take the show in the direction of maybe he doesn't forgive her right away, which we kind of see in this, again, that would also be one of those kind of situations where to me it would make sense. But what do you think about the whole thing?
I kissed the girl and I liked it. Like, Katy Perry had it right. To me, I think the level of what cheating is far and beyond what we think it is. I don't see as she cheated. There are two kids in high school, like 15, 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is no real commitment when it comes. Maybe in Smallville, you marry your high school sweetheart or something like that. It's supposed to be, but it just didn't seem normal to me for it to be an uproar about a girl kissing another girl. And the way that they played it, they just made it a thing where she was confused, trying to figure out what she wanted. You know what I'm saying? And understanding the type of person that, and she felt upset because at first it played like she was done with Jordan. Like she wanted nothing to do with him. You know what I'm saying? But then to play it as no, she felt bad because of what she did and she didn't know how to tell him. It felt like, okay, this is something different than what they normally did, because they even threw the spin in there where you thought it was going to be Steele's daughter. You know what I'm saying? And them two kind of hooking up when they threw that in there, and like, oh, now we got this whole love triangle thing going on. And I was glad that they didn't go that route. That to me would have been the Force SJ, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole Force thing, if they would have tried to do that. But in the end, they showed that somebody who's just honest and loving, you know what I'm saying, can win in the end, can shoot outside of what his current level, you know what I'm saying, is supposed to be. Because like her dad told her, she's the alpha in the relationship, you know what I'm saying? But she still, I was glad that she didn't take her dad's advice and she handled it in a way that helped Jay feel like he was equal, like it was an equal partnership type thing, and let him come to her to apologize, you know what I'm saying, being upset. So that was really cool to me. But I don't see what the uproar was about. People just want to trash CW shows for no apparent reason is what I come to.
Yeah, that's what I get a lot from, you know, Twitter as well. You know, you get like a lot of people that I'm like so sure don't even actually like watch these shows, that like just like kind of put up the articles or, you know, put up the tweets about how terrible they are and we should feel terrible for watching them, and it's really just for the clicks and nothing else. You know, but yeah, and that's not me trying to say that you're terrible if you don't like these shows. If you don't like these shows, that's totally fine. You know, it's just, you know, it's weird how many people will bash on them that don't even watch them, is all I'm kind of saying. But yeah, so speaking of Sarah and Natalie, that was actually the next thing I kind of wanted to bring up, because something I did like, we only really got to see it in one scene, but I do like that, like you said, they didn't try to force it as a love triangle, which was the first thing I thought they were going to do, and I'm so glad that wasn't the case. But instead what we got is a seemingly kind of cool friendship going on between Sarah and Natalie, something that I kind of look forward to seeing get explored later on. And it kind of makes me wonder, because I feel like eventually Sarah's going to find out about, you know, Jordan being, you know, the son of Superman and all that. And she's eventually going to find out that Clark Kent is Superman. My question now is that, who's going to spill the beans first? Is it going to be Jordan, or is it going to end up being Natalie?
It's definitely going to be Jordan, because I feel like Natalie feels like she can keep a secret. Like I don't think, if anything, Natalie is going to say something about herself. I don't think she's going to put, you know what I'm saying, Jordan in mistake. I think Jordan in the end is going to want to be honest with his girlfriend and come forthright. And it might be some tie where something happens and he has to let her know in order to keep her safe type deal. He's going to have to make a decision, because that the first 3 episodes of the season being Jordan-esque, it's a lot of Jordan going on. Heavy in the first 3 episodes. I really feel like it's leading up to him having to do something big, having to make a decision, make some type of stand in order to keep people safe. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen. But and to be totally honest with you, I think Lana's going to find out some things, especially with what she's got going on, and that's when this show is going to get weird, if you know what I'm saying, more than just people outside of the family, you know what's going on over on the farm. I wonder how that writing will be if it gets to that point.
Yeah, with Lana, that'll be interesting because then you got a character that's known Clark ever since high school, and now you got these characters. I think it's safe to say they're at least in their late 30s or early 40s. I'm not sure how old they're supposed to be, but you've had that long period of time where Clark Kent has never told Lana that he's Superman, despite them being best friends since high school. So it'll be really interesting to see how she reacts, and also to kind of find out how she's going to react to realizing she didn't recognize him when she and Superman were like right there in the previous season, like in the same room, and she somehow couldn't tell it was Clark Kent. That'll be funny. Oh yeah, so my notes for this one. So for Jonathan, it seems like not really much is going on with him. So for my notes, I literally just put steroids and girlfriend who sells girlfriend who's a drug dealer. Because that's kind of sums it all up. Basically, yeah, he's super jealous of this one guy who's kind of a dick on the football team, and he's also just happens to be really strong and really good at being a quarterback, and Jonathan is jealous of this. So he goes to his girlfriend to seemingly hook him up with X-Kryptonite. Now, okay, so I'm just going to do a stupid nitpick here and just say that quarterbacks do not need to be ripped, all right? You can throw a football really deep without needing that extra muscle. It's not the muscle that makes you throw a football really hard and fast. It's the tactics of how you throw it. So I don't know. To me, it's just funny, the idea that the showrunners seem to have this idea where football is all about being bulk and the quarterback has to be the bulkiest out of all of them. It's like, no, most quarterbacks I've ever known from high school football have always been the scrawniest people on the football team. So that's just what I kind of find funny about the whole situation to begin with. But that said, this is kind of an interesting, like, it's too early to say too much, to my opinion, about this, but it is an interesting direction to take his character, and it definitely does kind of feel like it really does fit his character, in my opinion. So, we talked about like earlier, like how a lot of shows were so used to kind of the forced drama here, but for this, I wouldn't really consider this forced drama. This feels like drama that they're adding to show, but it feels like drama that would actually happen with a character like this. Someone who, when you look at like all the sacrifices all the characters have had to make for Jordan specifically, for him to be able to have an easier time going through high school, the biggest one who's kind of getting screwed out of everything is Jonathan himself, because at his city high school, he had basically his future lined up for him. He was going to be starting for varsity as a freshman, which, I've never heard of something like that happening when it comes to football. And, without a doubt, you probably had all the scouts that would have been there for all 4 years. So he definitely had like a good future lined up for him. But of course, moving to a smaller town, the opportunity just isn't there for him. So, him eventually kind of going to steroids, to me, this actually makes the most sense for his character. But let me get your thoughts on this whole thing.
I honestly don't think it has to do with just the football thing. He's the oddball even when it comes to his family, because even his mom has something that she does with, being a reporter and having her own paper, and all that. So this could actually bleed into him wanting to fit in more what's happening with Jordan, his dad. Because think about it, right before we even got to that, I think it might have been the previous episode when they were sitting in the room and he was telling him about, the altercation that they had that conversation, and it almost seemed like, if you look at Jonathan's eyes, he almost feels like, this is something that I can't do. So like you said, to make all those changes, to come and be sitting on the bench and not be able to be who he was, is something I feel that's bothering him. That's one of the reasons why he's running around with the drug dealer girl. And he's starting to get into all types of trouble, because even with him being in the house with the girl when his dad wasn't there, that's all setting him going down that path that he probably wouldn't have went down if he wouldn't, had to come to Smallville. Another thing is, I feel like high school football deals big on effort and which you put in. Him having that injury where he broke his arm twice is something where that I think the coach is looking at him like, he's breakable. He's Mr. Glass. I had to make sure I had somebody else. And then you have the little steroid up, you know what I'm saying, bully, you know what I'm saying, father. The coach isn't looking at how is this kid getting so big, how's he getting so jacked. All he's looking at is that the effort he's putting in and the fact that the team's following along with him. So, you know what I'm saying, this is the person that I need as my quarterback, because as your quarterback goes, your team goes. And Jonathan doesn't have that support of that team right now. By the end of the season, maybe, or I would think it'd be more of Jonathan ends up not being on the team at all, because I really do feel like he's going to get caught up in what he's doing right now. And the fact that he's going to ask for X kryptonite, knowing what it does, knowing, you know what I'm saying, his father's stance on it and everything, just going against everything that he should stand for, is, I feel, what is really going to give his character some type of development on this show in order to have him stand out and just not be a side piece.
You know what I think this is going to lead to eventually is like you said, him getting kicked off the football team, but then him wanting, because if you remember from season 1, there was a period of time where he was like saying he wanted to move to Metropolis, and the response that Clark gave him was, you know, in a year, if you still feel this way, we'll have this conversation again. It's almost been a year because, it's football season again. They're starting the new year of high school. So I wonder, like, what this could lead to is him getting kicked off the team for, using X kryptonite. But then after getting kicked off is when he brings it up again in conversation to Clark, like the idea of, hey, Dad, I want to move to Metropolis. You said we talk about it a year from now. I still want to move to Metropolis. And him just kind of straight up like saying no. And then Jordan hearing this and then thinking, oh, so, you promised him, like, we could talk about it in a year from now. And are you going to do the same thing to me with the whole Sarah situation? Because, very end of the last episode, or not the very end of it, but you had like kind of a similar talk with Clark and Jordan about, Sarah, him saying, if you're still with her in a year and you still want to tell her, we'll have a different conversation. So I'm wondering if it's going to lead to like that kind of internal conflict with the family, because when it comes to like steroids and just, kind of drugs in general, it is, it does have a huge impact, not just on you as an individual, but like your entire family. So I do wonder if that's like something we're going to really see, like kind of break things apart. And then on top of that too, like also going back with what you were saying, the idea of him kind of feeling like the most insuperior one to the family. And you got to imagine that must be even more now with Natalie and John Henry Irons there, because you got John Henry Irons with his suit of armor, and then you got Natalie who's like helping him constantly do repairs on the suit, Lois with her journalism, and then on top of all that, he's a kid, so most of the time when anything's going on, they're just kind of like, hey, Jonathan, go to your room, or hey, Jonathan, why don't you watch the farm? It kind of sucks like where he's at, because he's literally like, out of all of the main characters right now, the most useless character out of all of them. And I totally get why that would feel, why that would lead to someone eventually going to steroids.
Yeah, definitely. He is definitely Jimmy Olsen. I mean, even Felicity was more useful than what he is right now. There's absolutely nothing for him to do at the age he is, and they're not giving him much to do. So I'm hoping that something positive comes out of this storyline, and it's not just him. We're not going through episodes upon episodes of him being an addict and trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is the other thing, is that I hope this doesn't like end up being one of those things that drags on the entire season. And yeah, like I do hope that eventually something positive comes out of this too, like by the end of the season. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, definitely, I agree with you 110%. Because to be totally honest with you, out of all the child actors on this show, which all of them are incredibly good, for a show that has a lot of kids on it, they're all incredibly well versed in, I guess, acting and how they come across as characters. But it's just something about Jonathan where, and it might just be those beautiful blue eyes, where he just stands out, you know what I'm saying, in a scene. The scene doesn't have nothing to do with him, but his face, when he was sitting there and he was sweeping after the one earthquake and just sweeping up the glass, it was something about the way he was sweeping that made you look at him and nothing else in the scene. So I would really like for him to be able to, you know what I'm saying, stand out a little bit more, because I don't think he gets enough credit for how well he's actually doing on a super powered show when he has no powers.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so there's an elephant in the room about this show that, as far as I know, no one has brought up before. And oh man, this may be kind of controversial, but I don't care. I'm gonna go for it. So I gotta ask: do you think Ali? Oh, well, Ali Aston, that's her name, right? The main, like basically Lois's antagonist in the show. I think it's like Ali Aston or something. Is she a reference to Allison Mack from Smallville? Because both of them being cult leaders, both of them being blonde women, and then not to mention very similar first names. Are we supposed to pretend that that's just a coincidence? Because I feel like they're referencing Smallville with her.
Or the fact that she did what she did to Lucy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it is. I think they saw that and they just ran with it. I don't know if they're trying to disparage her as a person, but bro, that is a great storyline. I don't care what you do. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me with that. And even the little sidekick, you know what I'm saying, that Lois got, you know what I'm saying, reminds me of her character, Allison Mack's character a little bit. And I'm going to be pretty interested in seeing where that goes. We already know that Allison Mack would never appear on an episode of this show.
Oh God, no.
But if somebody comes up with a little mom bob, you know what I'm saying, that's blonde hair, that's short, we're gonna know exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, the first time we were introduced to Chrissy, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I was kind of surprised they didn't just call her Chloe instead, because that would have been kind of a cool, like, kind of callback to Smallville. But yeah, I do like what they're doing with Lois's storyline. Right now, it doesn't feel like the stakes are huge with it yet, but I do feel like later going on down the line, we're going to learn exactly what it is that this cult has done in the past and how bad it's affected other people in their lives. So, you know, that's why it's like kind of lower on the list currently, but it definitely, I can see it going higher later on. And on top of all of that, you know, it feels like a very real storyline too, because yeah, there are cults like this that exist. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this one was based on a real one that actually exists. But yeah, like right now, this is definitely the storyline that's kind of intriguing me the most. And I'm really surprised also that, you know, they're doing this with a character that originated on Supergirl. So they're kind of giving her, which makes sense because, of course, you know, Crisis rewriting everything. They seem to be giving her a very different backstory. And it'll be interesting when she finally does appear, the actress that plays Lucy Lane. It'll be interesting to see this new take on her character, but being played by the same actor. You know, I imagine it being kind of similar with Renee Montoya on Batwoman, how it's like played by the same actress that played her in Gotham, but she's still having a whole new take on the character. But yeah, what do you think of the Lois storyline so far?
I believe that the Lois story, I don't know if I needed it right now, but you need Lois to do something. So it's where right now it bugs me a little bit because when they're going in and out of her storyline, I feel like it's hurting the pacing of everything else that we're watching. Because you got to think about it. The only thing we want to know is why the hell the thing is rattling. We want to know why the earthquakes are happening. We want to know what's going on with Clark, with his headaches or his visions or whatever he's having. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? The Lois stuff is cool, but I really feel like the Lois stuff isn't immediate. Like it's going to be a payoff for something later in the season, and that we don't need all of the screen time that we're getting with the Lois stuff. The stuff that I do like with Lois is her dealing with her mom leaving and having all that come up. That's what's actually really dope to me, because stuff like that, especially when it's you always deal with fathers walking out on children. You never deal with mothers walking out, and the impact and the different impact that could have, because a mother love is supposed to be above nothing. Like there's nothing above a mother's love. And for her to express that dialogue that she had when she was telling how she felt, and that's how her mom must have felt, that hit me a little bit. Like I was listening to that, I was like, oh man, you know, like that's the reason she's been acting like this for 3 months, because that's another thing is me on Superman. They do not care about skipping through time. Like you start and then it just goes 3 months later and you're like, what? So it's going to be interesting to me where that falls up in, because I think that Lois Lois nonchalantly, and because she's used to being attacked all the time, just feels like it happens all the time. I'll handle it when it comes, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to a head.
Mhm.
But I think this is going to boil over because she doesn't understand what media is today. And I think that's the storyline they're trying to put. She thinks everything is still print and press. I don't think she understands the power of a vlog or the power of a podcast. And that's where it's going to come and nip her in the butt when it comes to everything that she's got going on.
That is a really good point, actually, that you brought up, because we see her turning down people who are kind of like more modern reporters. Like, they report their articles through Twitter and other different medias, and she seems very disinterested in hiring those type of reporters. But now the big thing that she's fighting against is a podcast, which of course, is kind of like another version of modern recording. So yeah, that is a really good point that you bring up. The other thing that you brought up that I completely forgot to put in my notes, which is too bad because I really wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to bring it up now. The Lois and Natalie storyline, the way they handled that, I was really worried going into this season because I didn't know how it was going to be handled. With Natalie coming in, one slight concern I had was that she was going to be used to basically drag the family down and create drama, and she hasn't been doing that at all so far. She's had great chemistry, I think, with every character that she's been interacting with. And I thought like the episode that they had in the first episode with her and Lois, like the way that was all written, I thought was absolutely beautiful. And this is going to sound weird, but I'm 90% sure that the showrunner of Superman and Lois has met my mom at some point, because dear God, Lois reminds me of my mom way too much. And it's kind of like scary at times. Basically, it feels like if you took my mom and then just like kind of subtract the religious aspect from my mother, you would have Lois Lane from Superman and Lois. It's just so bizarre that like how much she's reminding me of her. So yeah,
I think that's every mom, because I watch it and she's day and date my child's mother. I look at it and was like, wow, sooner or later Lois is gonna start annoying me. That's just how I feel about it. But no, yeah. It's just the protectiveness, how she sparked off at the kids, especially when she walked in on Jonathan, and just the way she handled the situation. She blew those situations up crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, made them more than what they were supposed to be, because she was internalizing everything that she had going on. So it's going to be interesting how Lois handles everything, because she comes off like she's not emotional and she's like calculating, but she might be the most emotional person on the show.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's part of why she's one of the more emotional people on the show, is because she, like, a lot of times tends to repress a lot of her emotions, and she's gotten so good at it that I don't think she recognizes when she's feeling a certain way immediately. And that's what makes it so. That's why, like, in the time jump that we find out that it took 3 months for her to finally come to terms with everything, because she's not used to being able to be vulnerable, to have emotions like that. So yeah, I think the way they've been writing her is extremely interesting. Okay, so last kind of family oriented thing I'll talk about before we move on to like kind of the bigger aspects of the season. I definitely want to bring up for a brief moment John Henry Irons and Natalie, like them trying to now adjust to this new life on Earth Prime. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was Natalie attempting to go back to her old high school, knowing that she would run into people that she knew, but that wouldn't recognize her at all. And I this is interesting because it's something that I can't think of a real world analogy for what that would be like. Because normally with a lot of these kind of, superhero drama situations, they're always put in they're like in these weird dramatic situations that are clearly written for like a fictional television series, but you can always like kind of find some way to relate it back to real life. This is just one of those situations where it's such a bizarre written situation that works so perfectly for the show, but I legit can't think of a real world analogy for like what that must be like, going to, see people that that don't recognize you at all, that kind of a thing. But the way it was like started was that it seemed like it was going to be Jon and Natalie trying really hard to just have a normal life and fit into society again. But by the end of that, by the time we get to episode 3 and we're introduced to our new villain and we see how big the stakes are going to be for this season, we realize that, the two of them aren't going to be able to sit on the sidelines. The two of them are going to be, just as important as the rest of our superheroes with Superman and Lois. So we're going to be more than likely seeing the two of them helping out Superman a lot when it comes to fighting this big threat. But what do you think of their stories so far?
I honestly like the way they're going. Natalie's situation is totally understood, and the way she feel, how hard it's going to be to know that your mother died and see somebody looks exactly like your mother. Be thrown into a world where all the friends and stuff you have don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? I think that John Henry has a different viewpoint on things with his status of working alongside with Superman and you know what I'm saying, seeing everything, so he's able to handle things and compile them a little bit easier, even though you see that stuff is bothering him as well. Like you see the way that he looks at Lois, and sometimes he has to wake himself up, like, you know what I'm saying, that's not my wife. But it's going to be harder for a kid that lost everything, not only her world, her parents, her friends. She's totally new, and her becoming friends with Jordan's girlfriend and actually fitting into school and stuff like that is going to be something that I think brings her around crazy. And it starts to feel like maybe John Henry's not going to be around for a while, and that they're establishing Natalie as somebody who takes, you know what I'm saying, his role, you know what I'm saying, up, because it really feels like they're leading towards this being more about the kids than about, you know what I'm saying, the parents. And it's going to be something where it's like the kids are cleaning up the messes that the parents make. So it's one of the best side stories going in anything that I watch as far as comic book television is John Henry, Natalie, and them dealing with that situation, even them being able to go, you know what I'm saying, live on the farm, stay with them until they're able to find somewhere else. It's just, you can't imagine. Like, I put anybody in that, nobody can even imagine how hard that situation is, because nobody can be put into that situation. I think I had one friend who went something through like that. His mom had a twin sister, like identical twin sister, and his mom died and he had to go live with his aunt. And that's the only way I can even think you can come close to what either one of those two are going through. So I'm curious to seeing how that story develops and how Natalie's able to blossom, you know what I'm saying, in that type of situation.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I'm kind of curious about with that, because I think we all know she's eventually going to take up the mantle of Steel. So I think the biggest question is, like, are we going to lose John Henry Irons when that happens, or are we going to have two Steels fighting side by side with each other? Because in the comic books, I believe currently John Henry Irons is still alive, but like you still have his daughter. I don't think her name is Natalie in the comics. I forgot what her name is, but she also does eventually take up the persona of Steel and then fights with the Teen Titans. So it'd be cool if we see the show going in that direction as well.
That'd be interesting. With the way they want to do that.
Trying to think what if there was anything else. I think that's everything when it comes to kind of like the family drama oriented stuff. So now let's get into like kind of some of the bigger things. So Superman. Was there something? I
was just checking something on you in the comics. That's what I was thinking when I was going with it. Natasha is his niece. It's not his daughter.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So, but she does take, and man, if they break out that suit, I love the way her suit looks. You know what I'm saying, in the comic. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. You said that, and then it bothered me because I knew the answer, and I was like, let me Google this right quick.
Yeah, the way I could see it working in the show too with her suit, it would have to be nanotech, because we see in the comic books like the suit legit like kind of forms with her face. So it's like the only way that could be possible is if they use nanotech. And the question is whether or not the show, which I hope it does, is if the show's going to have enough of a budget to create a special effect like that, because making people's faces like metal but still being able to move with their face like they do with Citizen Steel on Legends Legends of Tomorrow, it's really expensive to do, and there's a reason they don't do it like every episode on that show. So hopefully, if that's the route they go, the CW keeps providing them that nice budget that they've been having the last couple of this last season.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, here's the big one. Here's where it starts to get real is Superman. I put it as Superman versus Anderson in my notes, but really it's kind of just like Superman against the DOD, and not like fully against the DOD as in like there's a war together, but there's definitely some disagreements that we have with them that we didn't have as bad with General Lane when he was in charge of the DOD. But Anderson, he definitely has this sense of America first, and he has this idea that if Superman doesn't see it that way, he shouldn't be going out fighting crime. He even gets like pissed off at Superman for saving a North Korean submarine because it was a North Korean submarine, asking him why he didn't just save the people but drop the submarine off in American soil where it would be under their jurisdiction. Although I'm it's hard to say because obviously in real life we don't have superheroes, but I'm pretty sure in real life that would still be considered an act of war, but I could be wrong. But regardless, he very America first. And what I find so fascinating about Superman's story in the show is they just recently, less than a year ago, I want to say, they kind of changed Superman's, very famous phase, which was originally truth, justice, and the American way, but now it's truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And I thought it was so cool the way they wrote that into the show when Anderson was like saying, I needed your allegiance to America and you turned me down, but Superman replies, because I gave it to the world long ago. I not only was that a really well written line, but just the way Tyler delivers it. And then, yeah, this conflict really does feel like a conflict that would exist in real life if we had a Superman. The military, I don't think the military would be trying to make Superman his enemy. I think the Superman would be trying to get him to fight for America first, which, any country at all that has like a Superman that fights for just that country would be dangerous. So the fact that Superman continues to turn him down and do what he believes is right, I love. But the issue that we kind of have is that now the DOD has their own team of metahumans that I believe are going to be the I forgot the group name, but there was a thing in the comic books where they essentially had their own like Supermen that it was like the Superman of America, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a thing from the comics where they had like a group of younger Superman, basically, that were militarized versions of Superman that would fight for the DOD specifically. And we see that Tag is one of these people, and Tag, as we know, is still in high school. So the fact that they're bringing in kids as recruits for this, and we know how big the threat is going to be, and Clark is again sending these these kids to fight this threat. What I think this is going to lead to is, because we have a Justice League within the Arrowverse, but clearly we're not going to be seeing the Justice League within Superman and Lois. I think they're going to be taking the Justice League's part when it comes to the Superman Doomsday storyline, which was literally just to die, because the Superman Doomsday comic book, if I remember, I don't remember which League members were killed off, but there were about 4 or 5 different Justice League members that attempted to fight Doomsday. And the biggest issue with Doomsday is that they kept getting ripped apart. And we were in a situation where really the only person who could combat this beast was Superman, because if any other League members got involved, they would die. So that's what I'm wondering, if that's going to happen with this new team working for the DOD. Is their purpose literally just going to be to die in this storyline? Because that's what it looks like they're going for.
Yeah, I can get that. I feel like they're taking a little bit of everything and forming into the show. And this is what I love. I love comic book television shows that are accurate to the characters, but I don't want comic book storylines totally rehashed. I want something new. I read that already, so I want something new to go on. Because this Superman of America team that was made in the comics was made after Lex Luthor. I always want to say Luger. I don't know why I always want to say Luger. After Lex decided to start the team after Superman abandoned Metropolis. And it leads to a whole thing. I think like one of them gets possessed by something and ends up like tearing stuff up, and then Lex disassociates himself from the group. But them doing the DOD to me is is very, very much more interesting, and has me compelled because of the fact that we did just get a show that announced that Diggle, you know what I'm saying, is training, you know what I'm saying, new heroes for the DoD. So could this be that, you know what I'm saying, part of that team that's trained by Diggle, or is it after this Diggle gets placed in order to train the team because that's somebody that, you know what I'm saying, Kal-El trusts, you know, in order to do the facts. So I'm paying close attention to what they do with this. The one thing that pissed me off about that whole scenario is when he comes to Anderson, he's like, you know what I'm saying, that symbol means something, they shouldn't be wearing that symbol. And when he says, nah, that symbol means something and there could be more than one Superman, you know what I'm saying, I was waiting on him to be like, no, that's my family crest, you know what I'm saying, that represents my family.
He doesn't say that specifically, but he does say that's not your crest to give out, basically.
Yeah, I was waiting on that. That's my family crest. You know what I'm saying? On the thing, like almost look, I will sue you. You know, like type thing. It's the last thing the government needs. But it's little much he can do with them saving him. You know what I'm saying? Once, I think possibly twice, and doing what they needed to do. So I'm interested in where that's going to go. Like you said, I believe it could be they just popped up to die, and then a new team gets, you know what I'm saying, new team gets trained and built after that. That maybe Jordan could be a part. You know what I'm saying? Like that maybe Jordan and Natasha could be a part of. You know what I'm saying? One day. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Or, you know, we were talking about Jonathan feeling very useless in the show, you know, because of where everyone else is at. Maybe like this leads to Jonathan finally having a role that, you know, he can call his own, like something that he can like actually feel like he's part of a team once again. Because, you know, he doesn't have like superpowers, but he's very athletic. And in the DC universe, that means you can be trained to be good at martial arts.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So,
true.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm really digging the storyline right now going on with Superman and Anderson. And then it was funny. I actually before the first episode was up on the CW app, just for fun, because like I remember the internet was going crazy over this because it's it's Teen Wolf reunited. I actually watched the first episode of Teen Wolf before watching this because I was really curious what their chemistry was like in that show compared to what we're going to be seeing in Superman and Lois. But yeah, not bad. Pretty silly, but not in a bad way. Very, very CW. Let me just put it that way.
Very much so.
But yeah, this new threat though. Okay, cool. So we're almost done here. We got just two more things. So basically the new threat and then how it's connected with Superman. So man, this show really kind of surprised me twice now, because in the first episode, when we got that first reveal and you got that like that hand punching, you know, its way out of like the center of the earth, immediately everyone's mind, I think, went to Doomsday, especially with the showrunner basically confirming that it was Doomsday. You know, very similar to the comics in the sense of him being buried very deep under earth. Difference being like in the comic books, there was also like a metal container that he was inside that he had to break out of as well. So it wasn't just climbing out from the bottom of the earth. But regardless, we see that this Doomsday has a connection with Clark Kent, but we're not sure what it is. And what I love is the way they go about solving this. And it's surprising because it's like the characters think of all the same things that we as the audience are thinking right now, which is, you know, when we eventually get the reveal of Doomsday's face and we see that he looks exactly like Clark, the big question becomes, wait, is this the same Superman from John Henry Irons' Earth? And then we get the confirmation that that's not it. Before we got the face reveal, we're trying to figure out why it is that only Superman's having these visions. So he turns to Morgan Edge and tries to find out if the Eradicator might have something to do with this. But if that was the case, Morgan Edge should be having these visions too. The way they go about solving these is exactly the exact same way like you could imagine other people trying to solve this in real life. And of course, you know, their mind isn't going to go to Bizarro or Doomsday because, you know, they don't, as far as they know, they haven't been introduced in this universe yet. So the fact that, you know, the only conclusions they can possibly jump to, there's no reason for our main characters to jump to those conclusions yet. Yeah, so I think just the way that's all been written has been really incredible, and it has me incredibly intrigued. The fact that they've combined, you know, basically the two the two like muscle brutes of Superman's rogue gallery into one character. So what I mean by that is like the two characters that that basically don't have the super intelligence or anything. Their biggest power is just that they're strong and they don't pull their punches. And now they've combined them seemingly into one character. And what I think this could lead to is that the more damage Bizarro takes, the more like his body tries to heal, and he ends up looking more and more like Doomsday as the episodes go by. That's the direction that I think they're going with it. But regardless of where they might go with it, again, it's kind of just super intriguing to me, because at first we thought Doomsday, that had to be the big reveal of the season. But then like after we see him in the suit, the same suit that Doomsday wore in the comic books when he was, originally found underneath the earth, as the suit starts tearing off and we see that we're actually dealing with Bizarro, again, twice, it really just kind of completely took me off guard. And I'm really excited to see like where they go with this. If it's going to be my theory that the two characters are one, or, Doomsday was never actually a part of this storyline. He was just, the suit was there just as a red herring. But what do you think so far?
No, I 110% agree with you. I really feel like it's a combination of the two. The good writing, because if anybody would have came to that climax, the only person that could probably came to that was John Harry Iris. If you want to do that, because that's something that, if that's something that he had occurred or somebody he had fought before, and he was able to put the, all the little stones together to figure out who it was. But they didn't go that route. They went the route of, this has to be something wrong with, Superman, has to be something wrong with Clark's trying to figure out why all this is happening. It's still interesting to me why the visions are happening, and that ties together. It just in the comics, I think it was Damaru or something like that. I can't remember the villain's name, but it was somebody like that had messed with his head before the superhero Superman of Team of America was, brought in. So could it be somebody else? Could there be another somebody out there that's the one that's actually messing with his head while all this stuff is going on? Because that's one thing that we always notice is Superman can't keep his head together. He can't fight, and that's what you see in this show. It's a true weakness of his if he can't, fight through his head being messed with. So I'm curious in seeing where this goes, and you brought up the aspect of the deformities multiplying as the character takes more damage. That would actually be dope. A dope way to end up with the Doomsday that we know. And me, I just want this to be tied to Krypton so bad. A show that was actually really good, that didn't get all the love that it should have got, being canceled way too early. I'm interested in seeing where they decide to go with this and how it develops. But man, they really decided not to pull any punches in an episode 3 for something that we probably wouldn't have normally got until mid-season.
Yeah, but I think that's what also surprises me about this whole thing, like just the way it's being pasted, because we're already 3 episodes in and we've already gotten like the full reveal of like this Bizarro Doomsday hybrid. So the fact that they're willing to show us this early, it gives me the idea that we're in for a huge treat this season. I'm really excited to see where it eventually leads afterwards. There was something I skipped, and I know I put it in my notes, but Morgan Edge, last thing I want to talk about, Morgan Edge, because we got him back for a brief appearance in episode 2, which I personally did not expect at all. I thought that if they were going to bring him back in the show, it wasn't going to be till maybe towards the end of the season. But not only did they bring him back for this episode, but there's like a little bit of a hint at the possibility of him eventually atoning for his actions. And this is something I'm okay with, because, season 1, nothing he does is forgivable or justified. That's something I think that everyone can agree with. He like all of his actions are terrible, but at the same time, he's a victim. You really can't help but feel sorry for, the situation that he was placed in, and it's very much in a lot of ways kind of reminding me of Peacemaker, because currently with the Peacemaker show going on with John Cena, you got Peacemaker, who's kind of a piece of shit, but then you look at his dad and you're like, oh wow, I'm surprised he isn't even worse. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now with Morgan Edge. So the big thing that's really going to like kind of determine whether or not we eventually do see him getting redeemed, I think, is really just going to be if he can escape his father, if he can accept that his father is a piece of shit and that he doesn't need his dad's love or approval, that he can just go about, being his own person, essentially. And again, when I say redemption, I don't mean like all is forgiven, because again, I do think there's like a certain line that you eventually cross where it's like, I don't know if forgiveness is on the table, but at the same time, at least knowing that your story came full circle, or at least, maybe a non-selfish act to really save the day, to kind of as like kind of a final hurrah for him. Like that's a direction I can really see the story going in with Morgan Edge. But what do you think? Do you think there's redemption for him? And if there is, do you want to see it for him?
No. I
okay.
don't. I'm be totally honest with you. After this episode, I think he's unredeemable because of his dealings and how he feels about everything that's going on. Even Superman himself, you know what I'm saying, feels like he's unredeemable because of what's happened. It's like he gave him a chance. You put your hands on my son. You were getting ready to kill my son. All because you can't get over your daddy issues. Now, he's got to go.
Okay. Yeah. Like definitely, I can definitely see that too. Like if I was Clark Kent, oh my God, like, the restraint that Clark had to show, like to not like kill him right then and there, like during that moment in episode 2. Yeah, definitely. It made the ending of that whole episode, though, I thought was actually really amazing. Just, when you had Clark not even necessarily saying that like, that there's good in him. He's just saying that he wants to believe there's good in him. And, so for me personally, I think that really puts it on the table, but I also don't think it's going to be one of those things where, Morgan Edge does something very selfless and ends up helping a lot of people, and then suddenly he's forgiven. I do think that it's going to end one of two ways. It's going to be him sacrificing himself for the greater good, and thus, even though he doesn't necessarily, fully make up for what he's done, at least he dies a better man. Or it's going to go with him, like, actually wanting to atone for his actions. But if they do that route, I really hope they don't just kind of like forgive him and let him be a part of the family, because that would just be really bad writing. I hope that they go that route. He still stays in DOD custody because, he did try to take over the entire world and kill everyone. So, yeah. But it would be cool, though, if they at least had him feeling sorry for his actions by the end of the season, is what I'm kind of hoping for overall. But before we wrap this up, do you have any like final notes or final thoughts that you wanted to get out there? Like anything that I missed?
Nah, you actually covered everything I wanted to talk about. But dude is not redeemable. If you want to look at somebody who you feel is beyond redemption but can still be redeemable, look at Alice in Batwoman. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? This dude has no qualities that Alice has of being redeemable at all. He's more of Nick Cregan's character and being Batwoman's brother. You know what I'm saying? Like that. He comes off to me like that. Like he's going to get written off. Something's going to happen. He'll be locked up for the rest of his life, or he's going to die. Because I don't feel like there's any good that can come from him being established as somebody who can be redeemed, because it's not going to be believable. I don't think he'll ever be okay with having the prominent brother, you know what I'm saying, being there. Like that's always going to rub him the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that as well, definitely. Personally, I do hope, though, for at the very least, again, not forgiveness, but like at least some kind of redemption for himself, like, at the very least, like him making one final sacrifice for good instead of for selfish reasons. But yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see where the showrunners want to go with that. But yeah, overall though, like these first 3 episodes, they continue to carry that same quality that season 1 has, and I'm really excited to see where they go with the rest of the shows, going forward. And yeah, overall, really good. What are your final thoughts?
I think this show is maybe the second or third best show going right now as far as DC CW television goes. Naomi's been very good. And Batwoman so far has been very good, but Superman and Lois has been constantly top tier. So I'm really looking forward to seeing especially when they showed us all of what they showed us, where they're going with the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I will say this though, it is hilarious having Superman and Naomi like right next to each other on the CW, with both of them having storylines that revolve around Superman, but them not being the same Superman from each other's show. I gotta say that's pretty funny and very, very DC of them for sure.
Definitely, and very confusing to the casual fan, but it's great entertainment for us at least.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It brings in something incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions. We, of course, always want to know what you guys think. So definitely let us know what you're thinking of Superman and Lois so far in the comments below. Give us any predictions, fan theories you may have. Even if you're not really enjoying the show as much as we are, definitely let us know that too, because we're curious to find out why. So yeah, but don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and of course we now have a Discord page that is currently open to the public for those of you interested in joining our Discord, where we can literally have conversations about anything. There is a subcategory on our Discord for like almost every topic you can imagine. Just look up A+ opinions on Discord and you'll be able to find us. Indy, if people want to follow you, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me at Nerd Mix Alpha everywhere, man. Go stream the music, Indy Uchiha, and man, make sure y'all subscribe to this page. There's a lot of content that's gonna get put up that you're not gonna want to miss.
Oh yeah, definitely. But until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, but above all, keep it A+. We'll talk to you all later.